Put the food up. This is lunch. She's had lunch. And this talks about how cells move stuff.
Wait.
In and out.
What was the movie?
That was Austin Powers.
Yeah, baby. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Listen up. Cells have to take in stuff and get rid of stuff. And material has to move across their membrane. Now, some material can do what we call diffusion. Can diffuse right across the membrane. Diffusion is simply the spreading out of molecules. Molecules will spread out. They'll tend to go from where they're in high concentration to where they're in low concentration. So if I have a bunch of molecules right here, maybe it's sugar molecules. And by the way, we're going to do labs. We're going to start tomorrow doing labs. Tomorrow, Monday, and Tuesday, we're going to be working with these ideas, so you need to understand them. Right here, let's say the black dots are sugar molecules. I have a high concentration of sugar molecules right there. Now, you need to understand that molecules are always moving. Molecules move. There's no such thing as a still molecule. They all move to some extent. And the faster they move, they kind of vibrate back and forth like this. The faster they move, the hotter they are. A very hot molecule is vibrating very quickly. A cold molecule is vibrating very slowly. There's no such thing as a molecule that's not moving. Did y'all know that? Even this desk, these molecules are moving. They're vibrating back and forth. If they weren't, this desk would be absolute zero, which is the coldest possible time. I can feel this desk. It's not at absolute zero. That means these molecules are moving. Are y'all with me? Do all molecules move?
Yeah.
Wait, what were you saying diffusion is?
Diffusion is the spreading out of molecules. So because these molecules are moving, they're bumping into one another. When you have a high concentration of molecules, they're going to bump into one another, and they're going to scatter and go in all directions. They're going to spread out. That's diffusion. Diffusion is the spreading out of molecules in all directions.
So when they spread out, they have lower concentrations?
So they'll go from where they're in high concentration to where there is lower concentration. That's diffusion. Going from high concentration to low concentration. Now, if there happens to be a cell right here, you want me to draw a cell right here?
Yeah.
Of course you do. Why would you not want me to draw a cell? There we go. There's a cell. Then this material is going to spread out, and some of it's going to go into the cell. So stuff can move in by diffusion. Some molecules are so small that they can go right through the membrane. If they're small and they don't have any kind of charge to them, if they're small non-polar molecules, they'll go right through the membrane. The membrane doesn't stop them. I'll give you an example of some small non-polar molecules.
Mr. Willis, would it break the membrane?
These molecules, some of them are so small they just go right in between the molecules of the membrane. So, oxygen, O2. Carbon dioxide, CO2. Those molecules are small, uncharged molecules, and they'll just go right through the membrane. Nitrogen gas, N2. They can squeeze between the phospholipids and just go right through. I like to make sound effects. If it's a big molecule, it can't just diffuse into the cell through the membrane. It would have to go through a protein channel, like that channel there. If the molecule has to go through a protein channel to get in the cell, it's called facilitated diffusion. Facilitated diffusion. Have you ever heard the word facilitate before? That means to make easier. Facilitated diffusion is when the molecules diffuse into the cell, but they have to go through a protein. The protein makes it easier for the diffusion to occur.
So is that when the molecules go through the cell?
So it depends on what molecule it is. If it's something like oxygen, it can diffuse and go right through the membrane. If it's something like glucose, it has to go through a protein. And then if it goes through a protein, it's called facilitated diffusion. You want to see video footage of diffusion? Oh, check it out. They've set up a beaker here. We got, would you say that's a high concentration of red molecules or a low concentration of red molecules? High concentration on the left, low concentration on the right. What's going to happen over time? Diffusion's going to happen. The molecules on the left are going to go to the right, and then until they're evenly distributed all the way across. That's diffusion.
Is that what our lab's going to do?
Yes, we're going to do a lab sort of like that.
Is it going to be food coloring?
It's not going to be food coloring. It's going to be sugar and water. Do you want to see video footage of diffusion?
Oh, yeah.
Heck yeah. Let me turn that off. Let me go through here. Let me get a video. Get ready for some diffusion. Oh, here we go.
Molecules move from a higher concentration to a lower concentration, naturally, through a molecular motion
Watch
that
it. See the
occurs
molecules
regardless of
vibrating?
life, regardless of us.
Diffusion results from the random collision of molecules. In a natural search for more elbow room, they bump and shove each other from areas of high concentration to areas of lower concentration.
See them spreading out?
Just as these collisions cause perfume or smoke to diffuse across a room, they can also push nutrients through any cell's membrane.
Smaller molecules can move directly through the membrane as they travel from a higher concentration to a lower one. But larger molecules and ions can't slip through the membrane. Lucky for us and life itself, the cell can transport these materials in other ways. For example, some proteins in a cell's membrane act as channels for specific ions or molecules. These channel proteins don't use energy at all. They simply allow the materials to naturally diffuse from the side with more solutes to the side with less. Whether the direction is out or in depends on where the concentration is higher for each different solute.
That make sense? 10 points if you can tell me what that big green thing is. 10 points. What would you call that big green thing? Not necessarily. Blue correct. White correct. Peach correct. Purple correct. Anyone else? Big green thing.
I got it.
Green correct. Orange correct. Everybody got it. That's a channel protein. Another diffusion video.
All molecules are in constant motion unless at absolute zero.
Quiet, watch the
Motion is
video.
random, with molecules moving in straight lines until they encounter other molecules. The net result of this process is diffusion, the movement of a substance from an area where it is in high concentration to an area where it is in low concentration.
Oh, the video died. That wasn't that good.
It smells like cheese. I have wipes as well, but they don't actually well.
How about this one?
There are three types of passive transport through biological membranes. In one type of simple diffusion, lipid-soluble molecules pass directly through the phospholipid bilayer. In another, lipid-insoluble ions pass through channels, proteins with an aqueous passage. In facilitated diffusion, a protein carrier moves solutes through the membrane by undergoing a conformational change.
How cool was that?
Wait, what's the third one?
Watch it. Wait. Watch it. Watch these things over here.
In another, lipid-insoluble ions pass through channels, proteins with an aqueous passage. In facilitated diffusion, a protein carrier moves solutes through the membrane by undergoing a conformational change.
How cool is that? See, this protein needed to be used to get the molecule in. That's facilitated diffusion.
I thought facilitated diffusion could be the one in the middle.
It could be the one in the middle, too.
Wait, is there going to be a third one? The guy said there were 3 types.
He said 3 times? I guess 1, 2, 3 he's talking about. Now, let's talk about another thing. It's called osmosis. When I was a kid, they had this movie, Osmosis Jones. Did y'all ever hear about that?
As a kid?
As a kid? You heard about it?
One came out like 15 years ago.
Yeah. Osmosis. Osmosis means the diffusion of water. Water spreads out too. Did y'all know water spreads out? It goes from where it's in high concentration to where it's in low concentration. Yes?
Is there such thing as reverse osmosis?
Yes, reverse osmosis is a filter that gets a way to get impurities out of water. Yeah, that's what that is. And it does involve the movement of water. Osmosis is when water spreads out and moves from high concentration to low concentration. For instance, if I had a wet towel and I laid it on this desk, I draped it over this desk, if you came back in 2 days, would it still be wet?
No.
Probably not. The water, it'd dry off because the water goes from where it's in high concentration in the towel to where it's in low concentration in the air. And the water moves and the towel dries off. Well, we can think about osmosis with a cell. If I draw a cell here, and I'll put a nucleus there in the cell, so you know that it's a cell. This cell does not have just pure water inside of it. The cell might be 90% water, but the other 10% are dissolved sugars and salts and proteins, things that the cell needs to live. So a cell is not completely water. If we took this cell and we put it in a solution of water that's 100% water, the water is going to diffuse. Water will go from where it's in high concentration to where it's in low concentration. Water will go into the cell. And guess what's going to happen to the cell if water is going into it?
It'll die.
What will it do before it dies?
Fill up with water.
Fill it with water. So how could you tell a cell that was filling up with water? It's going to expand. It's going to stretch and get bigger. They show some water molecules up here in this picture on the right, top right there, that have expanded and gotten bigger because water is rushing into the cell.
Is that why you can die if you drink too much water?
That's true, yeah. You drink too much water, your cells take in too much water, and they can start dying. That can be bad. So here we see, here is a cell, if you put it in pure water, the water rushes into a cell, and the cell swells up and explodes. We call a solution that has mostly water in it a hypotonic solution. Hypotonic. Now, you need to learn about this word and what it means. Normally, when we're talking about solutions, we don't say the percentage water. What we talk about is the molarity. Can you say molarity?
Molarity.
All louder at the same time?
Molarity.
Molarity is a measurement of how much solute there is in a solution. Do y'all know these words? You should have learned these in middle school. Solute and solvent. Do y'all know these words?
Yeah.
Solute is the amount of sugar or salt or something that's dissolved, and solvent is the thing that does the dissolving. Usually the solvent is water. So when we talk about a solution, we usually don't put down the percentage water. What we put down is the molarity of the solute, which this would be 0.0 molar. Molar is a term that refers to how much sugar there is in it. So 100% water would have 0.0 sugar, no sugar. And so this is a 0.0 molar solution, and the cell, instead of saying it's 90% water, we might say it's 0.1 molar. 0.1 molar, that means it has a tenth of a mole of dissolved sugar or dissolved salt or something like that. 0.1 mole has more sugar in it. 0.0 molar has less sugar in it, has no sugar in it, it's just water. So that's how we're going to refer to solutions from now on. We're going to talk about their molarity. So I'm going to erase the percent water. You have to think about it in terms of molarity. Can you do that?
Yeah.
So this has no sugar, all water. This has some sugar in it. So there's more water on the outside than there is on the inside. Y'all see what I'm saying? We call the solution that has more water in it, we call it hypotonic. And we call the solution that has more sugar in it, we call it hypertonic. Hypertonic means high solute. Tonic refers to the tonicity, refers to how much sugar or salt it has dissolved. Have you ever heard that term hyper before?
Mm-hmm.
Someone's hyperactive, that means overactive. Hyper means high up, a lot. So hypertonic means high sugar. Hypotonic means low sugar. Hypo means low. Have y'all ever heard hypo before? Hypo means under, low. You ever heard of a hypodermic needle?
Mm-hmm.
They give you a shot with a hypodermic needle. Hypodermic means under the skin. Hypodermic. The shot goes under your skin. Yes?
What does hypotonic mean again?
Hypotonic means low sugar or low dissolved substance. Hypertonic means high dissolved substance. Yes?
Do you have a spare charger?
Yeah, there's one right there.
That's very hard.
Here you go. You might have to sit up front for each. All right. So, if we put a cell in a hypotonic solution, that means we're putting the cell in a solution that has a bunch of water, and it's going to expand. If we put a cell in a hypertonic solution, that means the cell is in a solution that has a bunch of sugar in it. So imagine we put this cell that's 0.1 molar into a solution that's maybe like 0.8 molar. 0.8 molar is a lot more sugar than 0.1 molar. It's 8 times as much sugar. Yes?
It's the wrong charger.
That's all I've got.
Blast.
I'm sorry.
Did you say blasted? No. I said blast. Bless me.
So, what's water going to do in this case? 10 points if you and your group can tell me which way water's going to go. Is water going to go, let me erase these words. If the cell is 0.1 molar and outside the cell is 0.8 molar, which way is water going to go? Is it going to go outside the cell or is it going to go inside the cell? 10 points if you can get it right. 10 points If you and your group can get that right. No. Wait a sec, I'm going up front.
Wait, what does molarity mean?
Molarity means amount of sugar. Amount of solute. Doesn't have to be sugar, it can be any solute. Face down on the desk. There you go. Purple's incorrect. Orange is incorrect. Peach is correct.
Is green correct?
Blue is correct. White is correct. And green, I wanted you to tell me if it's going to go, water's going to go inside the cell or if water's going to go outside the cell. That's what I wanted green to tell me. Who's green? Do you want to answer? Or no?
Yeah, sure. Where's the paper?
Just say it.
You say it.
No.
3, 2, 1.
Out.
It does. It goes outside. What color are y'all green? Okay, so think about this. You're going to have questions like this on the test. If it's 0.1 molar, it doesn't have as much sugar than if it's 0.8 molar. So if it's 0.1 molar, it's got more water than 0.8 molar has. High water here, low water here. Water's going to go outside because it's in high concentration here and low concentration there.
So the lower
The lower the molarity, the more water it has. The higher the molarity, the less water it has, and the more dissolved substances it has. Does that make sense? Erica, does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
That's okay. What kind of situation do we have if it's 0.1 molarity on the outside and it's 0.1 molarity on the inside? What do you think water is going to do? Joseph?
Isotonic.
It is isotonic. And what do you think water is going to do?
Some's going to come out, some's going to go in.
Some's going to come out, some's going to go in. It's going to stay about even. That's an isotonic situation. So that's what the middle picture is. And it doesn't swell up. It doesn't swell up like this. It doesn't shrink like that. It just stays the same. This making sense? Would you like to see video footage?
Oh, yes.
Wait, what was that called?
It's isotonic if it's the same outside as inside. Some water goes out, some water goes in. You have to understand about water movement in biology. That's very common in cells for water to be either going in or coming out of cells. Video footage.
Diffusion is the net movement of molecules down a concentration gradient. This process allows small molecules, such as oxygen and carbon dioxide, to cross the plasma membrane. Most polar molecules, such as sugars and proteins, cannot freely cross this lipid membrane. Although water molecules are polar, they are small enough to pass through the membrane freely. This special case of diffusion that involves the movement of water molecules across a membrane is called osmosis. If a molecule, such as urea, is added to one side of a membrane, it will not be able to diffuse across the membrane because it is both large and polar. Because of its polar nature, it will interact with other polar molecules, such as the water. This interaction reduces the number of free water molecules on the right-hand side. With fewer free water molecules on the right-hand side, there is now a net movement of water molecules down their concentration gradient to the side with the urea molecules. Because more water molecules are moving into this area than are leaving, the water level on the right side will rise. If the osmotic concentrations of two solutions are equal, the solutions are isotonic. However, when the solutions have unequal osmotic concentrations, the solution with the higher concentration of solutes is hypertonic, and the solution with the lower concentration of solutes is hypotonic.
Sweet. Are you going to get all these words? A lot of words. Let me back this up a little bit. So, can you see that there's more water molecules free to move on the left than there is on the right? So we have a higher concentration of water on the left side than we do on the right. Let me back this up. So there's more water on the left than there is on the right. So there's going to be a movement of water to the right. We call that the concentration gradient. We would say the concentration gradient goes to the right. Can you say concentration gradient?
Concentration gradient.
That means the direction that water wants to move. It'll go from where it's in high concentration to where it's in low concentration. And you can see in this video the water rising on the right side. Can you see that? The water gets higher on the right because water moves that way across the membrane. We're going to do a lab like this. It's going to be really cool. By the way, these are urea molecules. You know where you get urea molecules from?
Where? The store.
P.
I don't like that connection.
That's in your P, urea. Y'all ever heard of urea before?
I have.
So here, the amount of solute is about the same on both sides. 10 points if you can tell me what it's called when the amount of solute is the same on both sides.
I want to cast some.
10 points. Amount of solute is the same on both sides?
Why did it roast himself?
Hold on.
Yeah, don't worry. I can try.
What do we call that? Amount of solute is the same on both sides. White correct. Purple correct. Blue correct. Peach correct. Green correct. Anyone else? It's called isotonic. Can you say isotonic? Now, if the amount of water is let's go back to this situation here. 10 points if you can tell me what is the word we use to describe this side where there's more water than on that side. What is the word we use to describe the left side? See if you can get that one. What's the word to describe the left side where there's a lot of water and not much solute? Purple's correct. What is the word? Orange is correct. Green right. Peach right. White right. What's the word for the left side where there's all water and no solute molecules? What do we call that?
Hypotonic.
Wait, they hadn't answered yet. Let's see if they answered. Yes, hypotonic. Hypotonic is right.
He cheated.
So hypotonic means low sugar. Hypertonic means high sugar. Hey, like you're hyper if you have too much sugar. Hypertonic means high sugar. And isotonic means equal sugar. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Are y'all packing up because you want to go?
Yes. Yeah.
What do you want to go to? You want to leave me?
I was stay with you and sleep.
Alright, so we're going to continue tomorrow on chapter, what chapter is this? 12.